the triple transformation of human consciousness. Hello, welcome to the channel. This is Chris speaking, Shores of Infinity, and today about the triple transformation of human consciousness, based upon Aurobindo's The Life Divine, chapter 24 and 25 in the second book of the Life Divine. So, what is this triple transformation about? In the previous two chapters, in the two chapters about the spirituality of humanity, it is explained by Aurobindo that we are meant to evolve to a spiritual being. Yeah? Man and evolution, and the evolution of spiritual man, with men, of course, mankind, men and women. We are already evolved to be mental beings. First, life has developed on the planet, life at all, in general. And then beings that have also capacities like movement and thinking and so on. First we have plants and bacteria, and then animals. And this is probably rare in the universe. It's not singular, unique, but rare. So on this planet, at some point life has started, then intelligent life. And Aurobindo agrees here with most theories of evolution that the human beings are special because they have access to the theoretical access to the mental, to the causal world. We are beings of three worlds: the physical, the vital, and the mental realm. Unfortunately, we don't usually use our higher mental faculties. We only use the lowest ones and then call it thinking or genius. Those what we usually use, what most people use from day to day, is the lowest of all mental capacities. It's just calculating or perception. We perceive stuff and then we have to interpret it based on emotions and thoughts. We also perceive emotions sometimes. It's called empathy, but we often don't know what to do with it. We get this input and then what? So we have to develop these higher, he calls it mental faculties and facilities. Another word will probably be better for it. Call it causal or higher faculties or whatever. We have the potential for it. It's very underdeveloped in most people, but we have the potential. This is already the now. But Aurobindo says there's one more stage. After the physical, vital and mental, there's the spiritual stage of development, and we are meant to develop in this direction. This is not a freak accident, as I said in the last video. The interest in spirituality of human beings is not an accident. It's part of its evolution, of the species evolution. We're meant to evolve to spiritual human beings, to adult human beings. We're meant to evolve away from conflict and war and lies towards a greater understanding of what life is, what the world is, what spirit is. And he said, this is also already coming into existence right now. This is what the 20th century was about. The 19th and 20th century is to install this capacity in humanity to be spiritual human beings. So there will be more and more interest in that, which we can see now is true. You can talk about spirituality more and more. Sometimes it's a bit clumsy or religious or rebellious or whatever. Often people just talk about it, think about it instead of doing it, but still the openness is there. We're more and more ready for it. All this Marvel and DC movies also, we're ready for superpowers, which are the cities that necessarily follow. So we're poised to the next step of evolution of consciousness in 3 steps or in 3 parallel movements. And this is also part of a larger evolution of consciousness of nature itself. So we are part of an evolution. Nature, within nature, nature is part of an evolution. And with nature, in its last consequence, the whole universe, the whole existence as well. That doesn't make us especially important, but it doesn't make the human beings completely insignificant either. We are one cog in the whole machinery of evolution of consciousness, of evolution in general. And the beautiful part is here that at some point of the journey to enlightenment, which is, he doesn't say that, but that's what he means. Once you reach what in India is called full enlightenment, then you can see that Maya is not our enemy. Maya is not this horrible force that spoils our lives and makes everything terrible for us, tortures us. Maya is herself, Shakti is herself, Chit is herself the consciousness force. The force of consciousness. We remember from the beginning Sat Chit Ananda, second part, Chit force is Maya, is the creatrix. And what we perceive of the holodeck, what we interpret into it, may seem evil to us, or abusive, or at least not very comfortable. But from a higher perspective, it's not horrible, it's not torture, it's not mean. It's just this obviously or apparently difficult transformation from ignorance to consciousness. So all these pains that we have to suffer are unfortunately birthing pains of a new step in evolution, and this step is to bring spirituality into life and from life into matter. And probably everyone can see now that people are popping left and right. And with popping I mean waking up. More and more people are interested in spirituality. At least 10% of the population, probably more. Then more and more people waking up, and more people attaining some forms of enlightenment, even full enlightenment. So something is happening here. There's really shifting something, which is, of course, in spiral dynamics terms, the emergence of a yellow collective center of gravity, second tier. Sri Aurobindo writes, the sole intention of nature is the evolution of the spiritual man to awaken him to the supreme reality and release him from herself. So nature, and that includes Maya, is really Mother Nature birthing humanity into a new state, into a butterfly. We're in the caterpillar, now we're in the chrysalis phase. And let's see how the butterfly looks like. And then when we made this passage from ignorance to knowledge, then Maya throws off her mask to reveal herself as the luminous consciousness force, carrying in her the eternal existence and its universal delight of being. Sounds very good. Can't say if it's true or not, because it hasn't happened yet. But it does seem like we're on the way there. So, what helps us to make the step towards the spirit aspect of humanity? It's again the psychic being, which means something similar to the soul. Someone recently correctly said psychic being and soul are not the same, but similar enough. So, the psychic being with its intuition will help us guide the way if we follow it. It's only a decision to follow it instead of your thoughts and emotions. Then you will go into the right directions. Then he writes, as the evolution proceeds, nature will slowly and tentatively manifest our occult parts. She will lead us to look more and more within ourselves, or sets out to initiate more clearly recognizable intimations and formations of them on the surface. So nature will reach out to us if we look inside. This time it doesn't mean cities with occult parts. He could, but he doesn't. He means hidden, invisible. That's also a meaning of occult. So if we look inside, we will see the intimations and formations, and they will come more and more to the surface, and they will be easier and easier to see and understand. Unfortunately, this psychic influence initially will come unpure to the surface. So we have to train ourselves to distinguish between what is intuition and what are thoughts and emotions and so on, instincts. And then it will surely, slowly but surely, change our surface nature as well. From the inside to the outside, it will change us and will change other aspects of ourselves, like physical and vital beings. This, he says, happens very slowly. The psychic being will not emerge full-grown and luminous. It has a very slow development and formation, very indistinct in the beginning. And while this is taking place, we simultaneously have to develop our higher mind facilities, the ones that we have the disposition for but usually don't use. Not the normal calculating, thinking, logical mind, but other mind facilities and faculties. They can aid this slow development. The same goes for our vital, our subtle body. It will also aid us to go through this transformation, to awaken the psychic being and the spirit. The problem with the mind, he says, is that the mind likes to impose itself on others, on what is perceived as the outside, and this can lead to wrong, dangerous and evil deeds. So this dominant aspect of the mind has to be watched carefully. He then mentioned several methods by which you can aid this process, which of course he means yoga with, the original yoga, not gymnastics. Yeah, jnana. First he mentions jnana yoga, to use the mind to use and control the mind. Of course, for this you need a tranquil mind. What I have said many times before, first the thinking, the involuntary thinking has to stop before you can worry about higher faculties of the mind. The second possibility is to go through this process with the heart. Here, of course, he refers to bhakti yoga, yoga of devotion, direct contact to the heart. And he says there is a heart center of the emotional being. With the emotional being, he means part of the vital being, the vital body. It is really where the physical heart is. Near the physical heart, there's the heart center, something like the heart chakra, and it is part of the emotional being, which is part of the vital being, vital body, and to some degree also of the mental body. And thus, through the adoration of the beauty of creation and of nature and of this amazing plan of evolution, or if you like, to imagine a supreme personal being, which doesn't exist, but you can imagine it, some kind of god or goddess, divine being. This can also help to guide yourself through it. Although, in my experience, it's also very dangerous to lose yourself there. This is what I call location 3. in most cases, and you can lose your way into the sub-level side tangents of location 3 of devotion and move away from spiritual awakening. The great advantage of Bhakti Yoga, of the path of the heart, is that you are not constantly potentially misguided by the mind. The emotional body is much more pragmatic, not so theoretical, oh maybe I could do this and then at some point in the future. No. As the Sufi saying goes, if you can do something now, do it now. No postponing, no procrastination. Which will then at some point lead into karma yoga, the yoga of selfless work, of working for others. But of course, before you start working for others, you have to solve your own stuff inside. It can't be a helper syndrome. Then it's not working for others. Then it's just playing out your helper syndrome and actually working for yourself. These two aspects are also sometimes in a larger sense called Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is the more mental activity in nature, and Prakriti is the more practical aspect of nature. And we have of course both of it in ourselves because we're part of nature. The Purusha witnesses what is often called the inner witness. Guruji talks about it a lot. That is the Purusha, the thing that is observing inside, even if your mind is quiet, or especially when your mind is quiet. There's still some kind of observer at work there. That's the Purusha. Well, everything that's put into action is the Prakriti. As the crust of the outer nature cracks, as the walls of inner separation break down, the inner light gets through, the inner fire burns in the heart, the substance of nature and the stuff of consciousness refined to a greater subtlety and purity. So this will happen anyway. This transformation is already taking place, a little bit faster in some, a little bit slower in others. But there will be a jump, there will be a quantum leap of consciousness, and maybe soon. And to go with this transformation, with this quantum leap, is not working against nature. We don't have to fight against Maya. Usually we think of Maya as something that wants to hold us back from awakening and enlightenment. But it's not the case. Again, this is very well exemplified in the Matrix movies, where the Oracle is half of Maya. So the Oracle is the part of Maya that wants us to wake up. So we don't have to work against the flow, against the current. We just have to flow with the current. And then what will happen at some point is a free inflow of all kinds of spiritual experience. And this is where this channel comes in. This is what this channel is for, even if I sometimes say things that you don't like to hear. For people to whom this free flow of spiritual experiences starts to happen, this can be quite overwhelming at times. This is what this channel is for. That you know, okay, this is part of the process. That's completely normal. Don't worry. Go with the flow. Stay with it. Let go. More and more, our inner vital being and our inner mental being, vital and mental bodies, will also wake up and do what they're meant for, what they're meant to do. So we have many more sensations, observations, perceptions, feelings flooding us. And we have to learn how to deal with it. Can be uncomfortable at times. Just keep practicing. It's a skill like any other. The more we practice it, the more we get used to it. Like ice bathing, for example. Yeah, Wim Hof ice bathing. You have to learn it step by step. Same here. This influx of consciousness, we have to get used to it. And then something happening is that he calls the widening, opening of our vision to something greater than us. Usually we are quite focused on ourselves And then the focus shifts away towards the focus on infinity, on eternal presence, on infinite existence, of the boundless self, the boundless power of the universe. So we have the creation, the Maya, the Shakti, the Prakriti, transforming us, wanting to transform us. The universe wants us to be transformed into spiritual beings. Then we have what we can do to speed this up. Basically, as always, letting go and going with the flow. And the third one is the descent. So it's basically Maya pushing us up. Then we can participate in climbing up, or Maya pushing us out like a mother giving birth, and we can participate like a baby during birth participates in wriggling out of the birth canal. And then there's the third motion, which would be the doctor or helper or midwife or nurse getting us out into the light, into the greater world outside the womb. Yeah, and this is the descent of the supramental, the descent of the divine, trying to help us up, help us out of our chrysalis cocoon, to help us into becoming butterflies. And only this third motion, which is also sometimes called grace, this third motion is making it permanent. Only this third part, this descent of the divine and picking us up, the descending spirit and its powers and elements of consciousness, this can make it permanent. But again, this can also be uncomfortable. If we get picked up by the divine and yanked up, this can feel like a separation from our cocoon. And it can be uncomfortable, and weird things can come up. For example, the void. I've been talking about the void before. The void is basically the divine picking us up, and we're flailing with our arms and legs and don't know what happened to us. We're not on the ground anymore. We're somehow flying without knowing why and where to. But this picking up can't be too fast. Aurobindo and the mother said something changed in the 50s and 60s. So it can be faster now, but it can't be too fast. For every person, there's a different path and different speed. So it will be slow, but maybe it's speeding up now. Evolutionary nature is ready for the transformation. Humanity is ready for the transformation. So the truth consciousness has to come now and do this third part. And it seems it has begun about 60 years ago. And it seems now it has accelerated again in the last few years. And what has accelerated? The ascent towards the supermind, which is the name of the next chapter, of chapter 26. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and joining me on Patreon. Thank you for recommending the video to others so that they can find it. And of course, thank you to everyone who has already joined me on Patreon. Thank you very much.